What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Die Hard is the greatest Christmas movie of all time. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin. I hope everybody had a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, a happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed any time that you spent with your family, and I wish you all nothing but a prosperous and healthy new year. Before we get into today's video, go ahead, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe as well. All of those really help out with the algorithm, and you will become my new favorite person if you do any of those three things. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Damian Lillard and the Milwaukee Bucks. I've held off on talking about Damian Lillard and the Bucks because I have just simply wanted to talk about different things. There goes my hair being fucking dude, what is going on right now? Anyway, the Milwaukee Bucks, one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, one of the early contenders to potentially go to and win the NBA championship this season. At the time of this recording, they sit at 22-8. They're second in the Eastern Conference. This might not be the most appropriate time to make this video considering they just lost to the New York Knicks on Christmas Day behind 38 points from Jalen Brunson, but that still doesn't erase anything that is going to be said by me in this video. As great as the Milwaukee Bucks have been so far, the acquisition of Damian Lillard has proven to be just as lethal as everybody expected. However, Dame was not always Portland Dame this season. In fact, he only recently started playing up to the level that we are accustomed to. If we're going to go ahead and look at Lillard's splits month by month, October in 3 games averaged just 23 points on 60% true shooting, brought that up to 26 points per night on 60.4% true shooting, and is now playing elite basketball once again. Not to say that he wasn't elite last month, but this is the Damian Lillard that we're used to seeing. The guy who at any given moment can pull up from 35, who can drop 30 points in a quarter. That is where Damian Lillard is at right now. Through 11 games in December is averaging 27.2 points on 64.5% true shooting, 46% from the field, 44% from 3. Just everything about Damian Lillard looks like the guy who left the Portland Trail Blazers. He's pulling up in transition and semi-transition as well, routinely hawking up 27, 28, 29, 30-foot threes. The Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo pick and roll is one of the more unstoppable pairings we've seen in recent years. Like, these two are on another level right now, and we're going to get a little bit more into that as well. His ability to get into the paint, his slithering through the defense with his masterful handles. He's getting to the free throw line. He's converting at a high clip. He just looks fantastic. I think what allowed the Bucks to remain such a dominant team, even when Dame wasn't at 100%, is that Giannis has always been the focal point of this offense. This is a lot more noticeable, especially when you consider what happened with the Clippers after they acquired James Harden, how much of a pain in the ass it was to assimilate him into the offense. They have, of course, since come around, and they are one of the hottest teams in the league right now. But Harden tried to be the focal point of that offense. So I don't know if Harden tried to do it, but the Clippers, more specifically Paul George, did not retain his position in the hierarchy, which fucked everything up. The Bucks did not do that. They played through Giannis and they pretty much said to Dame, "Hey, you're gonna have to figure out how to coexist alongside this guy. Giannis is our franchise centerpiece. He is our generational talent. He's going to dictate everything on offense, and Damian Lillard's skill set is going to have to figure out how to fall in place alongside that." Fortunately, Dame, being an elite point guard, an elite scorer, both with the ball in his hands and without the ball in his hands, a much improved facilitator as well. It didn't really take that long for him to assimilate, especially because you can play Giannis off the ball. I have found a couple stats here that really stick out to me and highlight Milwaukee's just much improved dominance or offensive dominance over the last couple of months. The Giannis and Dame two-man game wasn't always this unstoppable force that had defenses looking at them with a 1,000-yard stare. In fact, it got off to a really, really rocky start. Their net rating in October was minus 6.8. Minus 6.8 with two of the premier players in the NBA. It improved a little bit in November, going up plus 4.8, and now through December, they have a 16.6 net rating. I believe their offensive rating is around 132, with their defensive rating at about 115. There is just simply nothing that defenses can do to guard this duo. As of right now in 2023, heading into 2024, this is one of the best pairings in the league. And again, it's because they complement each other so well. The one downside with Miami, the one downside, I'm sorry, I just watched the only Jaime Jaquez edit on TikTok, and that's why I have the Heat. That's why I have the Heat stuck on my mind. The one thing with Milwaukee that will prevent them from winning a championship is their defense. Their defense is ass, straight up. It's not the worst defensive team in the league, but this was a team who last season had the fourth most efficient defense in the NBA. As of right now, they're at around 19th or 20th, depending on where you get your efficiency stats from. They're 20th on the NBA's website. They're 19th on Basketball Reference. Regardless, per 100 possessions, they're averaging anywhere from 115 to 116 points allowed. Some of this, or actually a lot of this, is with the departure of Drew Holiday, but also you're replacing Drew Holiday with a saloon door on defense. Lillard is arguably the worst defensive guard in the NBA. Nobody's going to argue that. That is the trade-off when you bring in a guy who can pull up from 30 and who at any point can put 25 on anybody at any point in the game. That is the trade-off. Among all of the elite teams, all of the championship contenders, Milwaukee they probably have the worst defense. I know in terms of statistics, Dallas is worse than they are, but I'm unsure if I consider Dallas a contender because they started off super hot in the beginning of the year. I mean, they're still 6 games above 500, but that team, as evidenced by they had like a 30-point loss to the Jazz or something. That one game that Luka didn't play. That team is so Luka-centric that the slightest short-term injury, like an ankle sprain or something to him, can greatly impact their playoff hopes. And I know there are other factors as well. I know Kyrie Irving is day-to-day with some sort of heel injury, but regardless, I'm beginning to ramble. In terms of the contending teams, like if we look at Boston, according to Basketball Reference, has the fourth most efficient defense in the NBA. Philly is the fifth most efficient defense in the NBA. You have Minnesota, who's the best defense in the NBA. Even Denver, a team that historically has been criticized for their defense, and also because Nikola Jokic has not always been a fantastic defender. They are ninth. They are the ninth most efficient defense in the NBA, and I feel that that number is good enough to win a title, especially when you have an elite offense like Milwaukee does. I don't know if there is anything they can do to fix it. They haven't played many grindy games this year. I believe they've only held opponents under 110 points on 4 occasions, which is not great considering that when the playoffs roll around, the games slow down, they become more intense, the pressure is heightened, and of course, you're going against better quality opponents. You're going against Boston, you're going against Philadelphia, like you're encountering a superstar in almost even if you're not encountering a superstar in every series, you are encountering an elite player in every round of the playoff. If it were to end right now, potentially it would be Cleveland, Milwaukee in the first round, with how the play-in goes. You're looking at Donovan Mitchell. You're looking at Darius Garland when he's healthy. I am unsure of how Milwaukee is going to navigate this black hole that is emerging in their defense. Still, however, you cannot overlook the fact that the back end of that team consists of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez, two of the biggest, longest, best rim protectors in the NBA. That is at least one thing that Bucks fans can look towards and be like, okay, perimeter defense is ass, like actually dog shit, especially again with Damian Lillard on the perimeter. But your back end is one of the better ones in the NBA, so that is a little bit of a trade-off. I do think that Milwaukee can crawl back into that 10 to 15 range defensively, but as of right now, I don't know if that's really an issue because their offense is on another level right now, and they're averaging all of these points on 50% shooting from the field, which is also second in the NBA behind the Indiana Pacers. This is a borderline historic offensive season being orchestrated by Giannis and Dame. We'll use LeBron James, for example, which is a mighty high bar to reach. We've seen the Kyrie Irving, LeBron James pick and roll. We're now seeing the LeBron James, Anthony Davis pick and roll emerging as one of those things that the offense can go to late in the game when they need a bucket. Milwaukee has that. You combine that with the fact that Giannis can get 60, as we saw, despite being quote unquote bagless, which was the worst fucking take I had ever seen. He's shooting 60% from the field, averaging 30 points a night. This guy is he's a freak, man. He earned the nickname of the Greek Freak, and then you add onto that Dame, who is arguably the best point guard in the NBA, capable of getting his shot off whenever, wherever. Like, that is a luxury that only a handful of teams have, that only a handful of teams in the NBA have. And at this point, it's defense be damned. I don't imagine Milwaukee really focuses in on that until later on in the season. But it's going to be a very, very interesting run, especially at the top of the Eastern Conference towards the end of the season, because I think Boston is very clearly the best team in the East, the most well-rounded team in the East. Philadelphia is there as well. We'll see what happens with Joel Embiid, who missed, of course, that game on Christmas Day. But at least to me, Joel Embiid is the MVP frontrunner right now. I mean, these three teams at the top of the East, like, it is going to be a absolute bloodbath at the end of the season. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. I thank you all so very much for coming to hang out with me today. As always, I said it in the intro, like, comment, subscribe really helps out with the algorithm. And with that, I'll catch you all in the next one.